robots range from about $700 to $2,000.
This talks for you.
Very good, Bob. Thank you, pal.
Despite glowing early projections, lack of funding and the limitations of 1980s technology forced Androbot out of business. However, today Joe Engelberger has re-emerged on the scene with a new service robot known as Helpmate, which is now being tested in hospitals.
One could say it's a smart box on wheels. No arms.
The Helpmate delivers meals and medicines in more than a dozen U.S. hospitals, allowing personnel to spend more time with patients.
Thank you.
The Helpmate has learned to negotiate its way through the use of an array of infrared sensors.
We put sheets of light out in front of the robot and a camera at an angle. If a sheet of light goes across your legs, well, I see something there. I'll try to get around it. And as long as there's room, the robot will wiggle its way through and get along.
It can even call elevators.
Please stand clear.
And knows when it's time to recharge.
My battery is low. Please call the operator. I am about to move.
Engelberger also manufactures the aptly named Scrubmate. Engelberger sees a bright future for service robots, which he appropriately quantifies in automotive terms.
Certainly in less than 50 years, there'll be household robots just as likely as Cadillacs. Probably not as likely as Chevrolets.
These personal service robots rely on artificial intelligence, but also artificial personality. They are not required to look exactly like a human being.
Do you want it to have personality, or do you want it to vacuum the floor? If it's a function bot, humanoid is less important. If it's a entertainment bot or a pet bot or some of those things, it has to be cute. It doesn't necessarily need to be anthropomorphic, but it needs to be cute.
Greetings, boils and ghouls, and welcome to Secrets of the Crypt Keeper's Haunted House. By the way, if you and your parents find anything I say on this show too disgusting, too repulsive, and totally gross, I'll consider that a compliment. And now, it's showtime!
In the entertainment industry, it is critical for robots to look as lifelike as possible. Companies like AVG in California create lifelike replicas of man and beast for amusement parks and museums around the world. Creatures from dragons to dinosaurs achieve an alarmingly high level of realism. But in order to sell the illusion, designers go to great lengths to replicate human form and action. Skin is created using specially formulated silicone rubber. A key step is to carefully synchronize the pre-recorded voice to the robot.
I think I know now what they mean by the expression, if looks could kill.
You actually synchronize the soundtrack with the computer. They slave each other, so they always work together. And then you start putting layers on top. You start maybe with the mouth, synchronizing the mouth to the soundtrack. Then you start adding facial expressions, blinking. Then you start adding the head turn and the eyes. You always have to make sure that the eyes are leading the head Otherwise, it will look really robotics. To make something believe, you got to make sure that all the movements have the right sequence to look live.
Most of these robots are powered with pneumatics, air pressure. Others use hydraulics. Oil running through hydraulic lines creates fluid movement, can quickly destroy the illusion.
Hydraulics is the best quality movement, but it has maintenance problems where if you lose a hydraulic line, you ruin thousands of dollars in cosmetics treatment because the oil starts leaking all over the place, and sometimes it looks very gross.
Sarcos Entertainment in Utah also builds lifelike creatures for theme parks and museums. Their Sarco Man achieves his remarkably realistic movement through teleoperation or can be computer controlled. But despite their appearance, most entertainment robots are not very smart. They're really just highly sophisticated automatons. But what if their realistic features were combined with advanced artificial intelligence and dexterous industrial robot arms and mobile field robotic legs? How possible is the creation of an android, a true artificial human being?
The comparisons are always very, very difficult. I mean, we know what the robot's supposed to be. It's supposed to be me. And so very few new technologies have that comparison problem. Usually a prototype is the first of its kind forever, and so it's as good as it gets. Wow, that's neat. Whereas the robot, compared to the human being, is always lacking.
One of the most advanced attempts is the Honda Human, a top-secret 10-year project that put brains in an amazingly realistic body. It does things that until recently the most ambitious roboticists thought impossible. Not only can it move upright on 2 legs, it can also negotiate a set of stairs on its own. It sees through 2 eyes inside the helmet and carries its brains and battery on its back. In another decade, Honda intends to bring its human out onto the factory floor to work alongside human beings who will control it by simple voice commands. While Japan leads the way in building robot bodies, the Artificial Intelligence Lab at MIT is making serious headway in building smarter brains. Here, they built Cog, a humanoid robot who is the logical heir to the cybernetic tradition of the 1950s. A robot designed to learn through its interaction with humans in the world.
In order to act intelligently, there's a lot of things you have to know about the world. And one approach is to try and tell an artificial intelligence program everything, write it out in great detail and tell it all the facts. By building a robot, we're trying to build a system which can act in the world, interact with people, and learn for itself. And our hope is that that will lead to a quicker accumulation of the sort of knowledge of what it is to act in the world so that we can have true artificial intelligence.
Cog is its own laboratory of machine learning. Like a child, it builds up knowledge by experience and experimentation, eventually, in the distant future, developing adult intelligence. Cog looks human because Brooks believes that to gain human intelligence, a robot must experience the world in a similar physical way.
A lot of us have seen Star Trek: The Next Generation with Commander Data, the android robot, which is very human-like, except he doesn't quite have emotions. That's our ultimate goal. We're trying to figure out how to build a robot that is that capable. It's going to take a long, long time. It may take longer than 400 years. This is some of the first steps towards that goal.
Basing his predictions on the exponential increase in computer processing power, which doubles every 18 months, Hans Moravec believes robots will make a great revolutionary step every 10 years. First, they will achieve the intelligence of a lizard, then a mouse, then a monkey.
And the 4th generation robot is human-like, and expect those perhaps around 2040. At that point, we're pretty much out of work because the robots